Ça va, celle-là, elle était petite.
Ça va, ouais. La première, c'était quand même la plus vénère.
Franchement, les autres étaient gentils.
Oui, ça va. La première, elle était...
Par contre, la
Ah là là.
première... Aïe, 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 aïe,
Ah, celle-là, tu l'as senti. Hein. Ah là là.
Oh putain, bon, le jour où on fait Zawa Japon, on ira.
Oui.
On mettra
mais
IBS sur
Tu
la
réaliseras enfin ton fantasme de te faire des claques, là.
Ah oui, on se met en boucle.
Oui, on se met en boucle et on fait des claques.
Effectivement. L'oreille qui siffle, alors, terrifiant. Terrifiant.
Ah ouais.
Il est connu ce bar, il passe souvent dans les streams IRL, elles sont cool.
Oui, elles ont l'air...
ok, c'est pas inédit.
Mais,
Ah.
mais ça va.
Oui, c'est vrai que c'est logique, t'as raison. Je pensais avoir découvert un truc, mais pas du tout. Il n'y a que moi qui connaissais pas, apparemment. Il n'y a pas un seul streamer de la Zawa que je rêve pas de voir dans ce bar. On va tous y passer, vous inquiétez pas. Après, je pense, Wissam, je pense que en termes de religion, c'est pas un peu chaud de se faire claquer par des meufs comme ça, que c'est un peu kinky. On est d'accord que Attends, on est d'accord que c'est dans le cadre d'un kink.
Non, alors, attends.
Moi, je serais contente. Mais je sais que toi, Moufette, tu seras
si
contente.
Si c'est pas pour en tirer du plaisir sexuel, t'as le droit. Parce que t'as des trucs qui sont kinky, mais si c'est pas ton kink à toi, c'est plus kinky. Genre les pieds, par exemple.
Donc toi, pour toi,
Genre te faire masser les pieds.
lécher des pieds.
Non, pas lécher, non. Non, lécher, tu rentres déjà dans le domaine du indéniable. Mais par exemple, le massage de pieds. Il y a des gens, c'est leur kink, ça les fait bander, etc. Ils se branlent là-dessus, tu vois. Mais tu peux très bien te faire un massage de pieds sans que ce soit, tu vois. Donc c'est pas...
Donc tu veux dire que si Wissam refuse de se faire gifler quand on ira au Japon, c'est que c'est un kink.
Ce sera un aveu.
Merci pour Rona Shiny. Ok, ce sera un aveu. Parce que s'il kink pas, il aura aucun problème pour le faire.
Exactement. Alors que s'il kink, là, il saura que c'est interdit.
Si c'est pour laver les pieds de l'autre. Tu vas laver mes pieds, Ilyes?
Oh putain.
Les pieds, on va pas s'entendre. Oh, calmez-vous. Hein. Calmez-vous. Hein. Vous devez insulter Vauquiez.
Vauquier.
Va te faire foutre, Vauquier.
On en a marre des logos de la région Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes partout. Lâche-nous avec tes logos de merde, ils sont moches.
C'est vrai, ça.
Voilà.
C'est vrai. Hein.
Oui, j'ai lu l'or. J'ai beau être parisien, je connais la province. Hein.
C'est vrai. T'as de la culture.
Allez, le
Quand je vais chez le kiné, j'ai pas une demi-molle quand il travaille mon dos. Oh, j'ai cru que t'avais dit l'inverse. j'ai cru que tu disais j'ai une demi-molle quand il travaille mon dos. Ouais, j'ai eu peur. Donc non, ok, ça va là. Ok, c'est bon. Ok, tout va bien. Tout va bien se passer.
Pour Anthony, le réveil est à l'image de la nuit qu'il vient de passer, pénible. Il n'est pas encore 7 heures et le thermomètre affiche déjà presque 30 degrés.
C'est vrai que c'est exceptionnel et que ça...
Mais attends, il est dans une autre décennie, lui. Il est en 2007, Viveldop, fixation extrême.
Ou alors c'est la chaleur qui s'est transformée en Viveldop, fixation extrême.
On est d'accord qu'il est vraiment en mode Viveldop, fixation béton. Voilà.
Fixation béton, ouais.
La pub fixation béton où il se frotte la tête contre le mur et tout.
Mais faut lui annoncer que la tectonique c'est fini.
Gay vibe, mais n'importe quoi. Au secours, c'est un sudiste.
Oui, le problème des sudistes, c'est qu'ils ont l'air de gays.
Mais surtout là où il est complètement con, est-ce que quelqu'un lui explique que laisser sa fenêtre ouverte
avec
après, juste un rideau en moment de grande chaleur?
Après, s'il vit dans une baraque en béton, c'est globalement, t'as beau laisser tout fermé.
Honnêtement, c'est quand même pire. Et surtout que là, il met son ventilateur vers lui, près de la fenêtre. Ça veut dire que là, il aspire l'air chaud de dehors pour l'envoyer sur lui. Merci Chipalamouk, merci beaucoup. Genre vraiment, il a fait tous les choix. Il a fait tous les plus gros mauvais choix possibles.
Alors que s'il regardait TikTok, il saurait qu'il faut retourner le ventilateur vers l'extérieur pour aspirer l'air chaud de ta chambre et le recracher à l'extérieur.
Moi, je suis pas encore convaincu par cette stratégie.
C'est pour ça que j'ai dit s'il avait regardé TikTok, parce que ça reste un faux TikTok.
Moi, je suis d'accord que le mettre devant la fenêtre à aspirer l'air chaud, c'est un move de merde. Mais je crois pas non plus que ça marche si bien que ça, le fait de faire sortir l'air chaud de ta pièce.
Oui.
Imo, ça me paraît être un peu bon.
Parce que si la fenêtre est grande, il y a plus d'air qui rentre que qui sort, quoi.
On dirait l'arrière du ventilo, bien sûr que non, c'est le devant, les gens.
Il y a le logo, c'est l'avant.
Bah oui. C'est complètement faux. Oui, on est d'accord que c'est de la pensée magique, ça.
ne descend pas du tout dans la nuit. Déjà, pour trouver le sommeil, c'est très difficile parce qu'on est moite. Et après, effectivement, on se réveille plusieurs fois dans la nuit. Il n'y a pas vraiment d'air, donc c'est
après,
vraiment suffocant, quoi.
C'est clair que, en vrai, quand tu vois aussi la façon dont tout a été construit dans ces
I'm now
40
back inside
dernières
start
années avec que
activity.java. I've closed down the classes and objects scratch file. Now that we're armed with our new knowledge of classes and how to make objects from those classes, we can immediately apply this in our project. So at the moment, we just have our dishes as a title, as a name for each dish. But we know eventually, as we develop this app, we're going to have a title, a description, a price, and also an image for the dish. And we might be thinking we could make 4 different arrays: dish title array, dish description array, and then figure out a complicated way to make sure that all those items in each array match up with each other. But that's going to get really messy and really complex and really prone to errors very soon. So it'd be really nice if we had some way we could gather up all of the individual bits of data for one dish. And you might be thinking that we already have the solution, and that solution is to make a class for our dish. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to make this class in the same location as our starter activity. If you're not already inside the main Java folder, you can click the target button to get there as well. So on the parent folder, which should look like your package name, right click and do new Java class. And you'll get a new Java class dialog to fill out. So the name we're going to simply call dish, and all Java classes please start with a capital letter, so D-I-S-H, and that's it. Ensure the kind is on class and not any of these other types that we'll learn about later, so class. Ignore superclass, we'll learn about what this means when we cover inheritance. Ignore interfaces, we'll learn about this when we cover interfaces, funnily enough. Package, leave exactly as it is. Because we've done the right click and new way of making this file, it will be in the correct place. We'll leave it as public, so other files outside of this dish class can access it. And we won't do any fancy modifiers, abstract and final. So all we're really doing is giving it the name dish and ensuring it's of kind class, and leaving everything else. And press OK. So now we have a blank class, a public class called dish, and it's grey because it's not being used. So remember, classes have state, classes have behavior. So the state is the things the class knows about itself. And what are the things we want a dish to know about itself? We want it to know a title, a description, and a price. So let's make 3 fields, 3 class variables. So type the word string, our variable type, and we'll call it lowercase t for title, semicolon. We want a description, so variable type of string, and a name of description. And we want a price. Now we could do this price as a decimal, we could do a double and do like 9.99 for £9.99, but I'm going to go for the approach of making the price in pence. And we can format that later on with a fancy string formatter that we've seen before. So let's do int, and we will do price, and that'll be the price in pence. So our dish class has defined its state, what things it needs to know for each individual object. Now at this point we don't need any methods, we don't need it to do anything, we just need it to hold that information for now. So now we can go back to our starter activity and we can start using this new dish class. So we're going to leave our dishes string array for now, but make some line breaks above it between the list view and the string array. And we're just going to have a play at making one new dish with our new class. So it's going to be a variable of type dish, so type dish, and you'll be able to autocomplete that. So class instances you can make from our command before. Manually, string description, comma, and int price. And then we do this for this object. So when a user says new dish, the word this is referring to that specific object. So this.title equals the parameter title. And then this.description equals the parameter description, semicolon. And this.price equals the parameter price. Now, if you're wondering, do these constructor parameters have to be named the same as the fields? They do not. We can call this, you guessed it, cheese, and dog, and Vin is great. So you can call them whatever you want. But this pattern of using the same variable name as the fields, and then using the this word to refer to this object, so this object's title equals constructor title, is really, really common. It's good practice. I recommend you do the same when using constructors to set an object's fields. Okay? So now we've done that. When we go back to our starter activity, we have an error here. We no longer have that default empty constructor that you get when you don't specify one at all. We've specified one. So if I press Control P or Command P, which is a little shortcut to show you what a method or constructor needs, we can see that now needs title, description, and price. So we can move these into here. I'm just going to copy and paste them. So copy, comma, copy, comma. I'm actually going to close my project pane down. There we go, that's full width now. Good. And then copy the 999, so comma, and then copy. Okay, so if I scroll left and right, you can see we've got the whole thing. It's quite a long line, but that doesn't matter for now. And now we can remove setting the fields manually. So this is going to make making these dish variables a lot easier. Rather than 4 lines, we can do it all in 1 line. And we can guarantee we won't miss off setting one of these variables because we demand they are set in the constructor. So now we have our dish class complete with the fields that it needs and also a constructor which makes creating new dishes, new objects really quick and easy. So we've now got our dish class ready to be used, and the final thing is to convert array. Remember, are you right now? Because we're getting an error because we've got the same variable name twice, dish objects. And what we'll also do is we'll delete this string array beneath it because we're getting an error because we've got the same variable name twice, which you can't have. So let's delete this string array. We're going to have an error in the array adapter because we declared an array adapter of type string and we don't have the string array anymore, so don't worry about that for now. So we have the empty initializer block, and what we could do is we could put the variable name above, so dish1 in it, And don't copy this, but let me show you. We could make a new variable for every dish. We could do dish 2, dish 3, etc. And then we could copy those in like that. That would be okay. But once we put the dish objects inside the dish array, we don't actually need the individual variable. We're not actually going to be referring to the individual dishes one by one. We'll just be passing the whole dish array variable to our list view. So we don't actually need these individual variables. So just like with our string array, we can type these strings straight into the string array. We can do a similar thing with this dish array. I'm just going to delete these objects on that. So I will dish object array. We have from this the value that will happen. Your index is nothing happen. Dish up to the toolbar, make a string. Well, how's it going to know what to display for our dish object, for our dish class? Let's see what happens. Up to the toolbar, make sure the first drop down is that is our dishes array. Now we have an error here because dishes is now a dish array, but we've declared an array adapter of type string. So can you think of what the quick one-word fix is for this? Give it a go yourself if you think you know. Change the type of string to type dish, and that will fix that. So in a moment we're going to run this, but what do you think is going to happen? We've given it an array of dishes. This array adapter here, it knows how to handle any type of array, an array of any object. But when we gave it strings, it knew to display that string. Well, how's it going to know what to display for our dish object, for our dish class? Let's see what happens. Up to the toolbar, make sure the first drop down is selected as app, not as scratch like mine is. Good. And then ensure you've got the correct emulator. And then click run. Okay, and when we click on starters, okay, so we do have something, but it doesn't look like something we would want to use in our app. It looks like our package name, the name of our class, and then some random code. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this for now. Every single class, every object that you make or exist in Android has a method on it by default. In fact, it has a handful of methods. So whenever you make a class, every object, every instance of every class has a few methods, and one of those methods is a method called toString. You might remember toString from before with our edit text, where we did edit text.getText.toString. Okay, so every class, every object can be made into a string. Often that string is not something you'd want to display to users, it's something like edit string. Okay, and when we click on starters, okay, so we do have something, but it doesn't look like something we would want to use in our app. It looks like our package name, the name of our class, and then some random code. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this for now. Every single class, every object that you make or exist in Android has a method on it by default. In fact, it has a handful of methods. So whenever you make a class, every object, every instance of every class has a few methods, and one of those methods is a method called toString. You might remember toString from but in Scratch, we could try and type public void and then toString. We could do that. But if you just start typing now the method name of toString outside of the constructor, but inside the class braces, if you start typing toString now with a lower t, to, and a capital S, you can see we're getting an autocomplete suggestion. This is a method that already exists on every object. You can see there on the right, this comes from every object. So if we autocomplete this, let's see what happens. Okay, it puts in some stuff for us. It puts in non-null, don't worry about that, but it puts in the word override. That's an interesting word, we'll cover this in a moment. And then it's a method, a public method, so accessible from every class, returns a string, it's called toString, and right now it's returning super.toString. And the word super we will cover when we learn about inheritance soon. But the override word is interesting. This method, toString, exists on every object. Every object can do some sort of string output in Java, but we want to customize this. We don't want the default behavior, we want some specific behavior. And so that's where the word override comes in. And the word override and this super dot thing you see here, both of those concepts we're going to cover in much more detail when we do the programming concept on inheritance. But for now, we can change what we return. Now in the next section, we're going to develop the list to be much more fancy, to show everything, pictures, to look really quite nice. For now though, we want the original behavior, just to display the title of the dish. So if we put in this overridden toString method, return title, which is a string, and then a semicolon, that will give us the same behavior. So we give the dishes array to our list view, and every object has a toString, so the list view can handle that. It has a way of getting a string from that object, but we've customized this here. So when we run this now,